In Deadpool and Wolverine, Mr. Paradox introduces the concept of an anchor being. Essentially, long story short, what an anchor being is it's someone in the universe that is so important and not necessarily powerful, but so important that their whole universe and whole world relies on them being alive. And so, spoiler alert for Deadpool and Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in Universe 1001, I believe, is the anchor being for that universe. And so for the plot of that movie, what ends up happening is because of Logan's death in the movie Logan, his universe, because Logan was the anchor being, is disintegrating or is collapsing. Now, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Logan being the anchor being to the Fox Sony universe, in my opinion, is kind of a meta commentary that, like, once that character was dead, that universe was gone. That universe was also dead, because without Logan's Wolverine, him being the main character, was he the most powerful character in that universe? No, definitely not. Was he the most popular? 1000% yes. So I think him being the anchor being of that universe, as it was explained in Deadpool and Wolverine, is a meta commentary on when you have a franchise built around one person or a group of people and they die and or leave, it makes sense that that franchise is going to die throughout it. So why am I talking about anchor beings? Well, as you probably saw and clicked on because of the title of this video, who is the anchor being of the 616 Marvel Cinematic Universe? Well, I think I figured it out, and what I want to do in this video is go through the process of elimination throughout the different options that I've come up with in my own mind of who the anchor being throughout this 616 Marvel Cinematic Universe might be. I've got a list of about 10 characters that I want to run through and give my explanation for why I think each of them have their own shot at being the 616 anchor being. So for each potential anchor being, I have a few pros and cons for why I believe they would make a good anchor being, or at least a good reason to justify why they might be an anchor being. Some of these I just kind of threw on because they're the more powerful characters, and some of these I just threw on because they're the more popular characters. That being said, let's go into who I think has arguably some of the best potential for being the Marvel Universe's 616 anchor being, and that of course is Tony Stark's Iron Man. Obviously, Iron Man is the most popular character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from Iron Man to Endgame. He is by far the main character. So that is essentially the only pro I have for Iron Man being the anchor being, is that yes, he is the most popular character. He has done everything. He is like the main guy that the franchise was built around. You can make so many arguments saying that, like, after Endgame and after Iron Man died, it was exactly like what happened in Deadpool and Wolverine. After Logan died, that universe just ceased to exist in the eyes of the fans because that was a lot of people's stepping off point. Logan was the fans' send-off for that character, and that everything happened like with the Dark Phoenix after that, no one really cared. No one paid attention to. And that argument could definitely be made with Tony Stark's Iron Man. The next character I want to get into is Steve Rogers' Captain America. The biggest pro that I have is, in my opinion, he is the most noble character in the Marvel Universe. He is like what everyone wants to be. You even see Deadpool salute him in Deadpool and Wolverine. I think he was there from the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe all the way up until the end when he like disappeared, time traveled, and Endgame. I think he makes a really strong argument for him being Marvel's anchor being, but I don't necessarily buy into it a whole lot based on all the other characters I have on this list, so likelihood of him being an anchor being, not really, but due to popularity, I had to throw him onto the list and the fact that he's been with us on this journey since the beginning of the Infinity Saga. Another character that's in the same vein as Captain America in terms of popularity and longevity within the universe is Thor. Do I think Thor is the anchor being? No, because Thor is still alive, and yet the universe seems to be collapsing in terms of popularity. A good pro I have for Thor is that he was blessed by Odin. He is one of the more popular and stronger characters and has also had a lot of longevity throughout the cinematic universe. I don't really have a whole lot for Thor other than the fact that he was one of the main Avengers. I don't really have a con for him because he's not dead, and that was something that was shown with Logan, is that as soon as he died, the universe, it took it the course of time, but eventually the universe started to collapse, and Thor's not dead. He's not the most popular character. He is popular. He's an older character, like timeline wise, and he's been blessed by Odin, but I really don't think Thor is a good shot at being an anchor being, but I couldn't not say that, especially because he's one of the big three throughout the universe. Speaking of Thor, let's go straight into his brother Loki, who, man, he has had a comeback. From being the Avengers' first villain all the way in the 2012 Avengers to him now being the god of stories, I think Loki makes a pretty good argument for being the universe's anchor being. The only con I have with this is that technically I think Loki is outside of the universe and is outside of space and time because he's holding in everyone and all the stories and the multiverse stuff, so I don't necessarily think this is an argument saying that Loki is no longer like the anchor being of the 616 universe because he is outside of everything. But that being said, how he is reached his lesser god status of being the god of stories, I couldn't not bring him up through in this conversation of who is the anchor being. Another pro of Loki being the anchor being is, in my opinion, I think he has some of the most, if not the most, knowledge when it comes to how the Marvel universe works and the ins and out of it. He knows about the TVA, he's holding together different timelines and stories, he knows how to time travel, and I think he's essentially one of the oldest characters with the limbo state that he was in if you've watched Loki season 2, and how he was essentially in purgatory, dying multiple times again, trying to figure out how to save his friends. So the argument is definitely there that Loki is one of the most knowledgeable and oldest characters, but does that make him an anchor being? I'm not sure. So let's go on to the next one. You can't talk about one of the most knowledgeable characters in the MCU without talking about Doctor Strange. After Endgame, Doctor Strange has definitely stepped into the forefront of being one of the most popular Avengers, if not the most popular, leading the charge into the next multiverse saga that we're now in. The same way that Iron Man took on the Infinity War saga on his shoulders, it seems as if Doctor Strange is holding together everything throughout the multiverse saga on his shoulders. Throughout the MCU, Doctor Strange has definitely been the character that's had the most interaction with different mystical things in different dimensions, so it makes sense that he's one of the most knowledgeable people holding together the parts of the MCU and the multiverse side, which us being in the multiverse saga now, I could definitely see him being the anchor being. Especially after the events of No Way Home, Doctor Strange is still alive and he's by far one of the most knowledgeable people in this universe about the different multiverses and stuff. And because Logan died, in my opinion, I think the anchor being has to be someone that is either about to die or has already died. Because once Logan died, that's what caused the collapse of his universe, and in my theory that I'm going to eventually fan write for Doomsday and Secret Wars, I think what's going to happen is the anchor being is either going to die and they're going to kind of speedrun the collapse of the universe, or if it's someone like Iron Man who has already died, then that's what's going to cause the eventual collapse of the 616 universe and is what's going to lead us into Doomsday and Secret Wars. So one of the only cons I really have with Doctor Strange right now is that he's not dead. And speaking of someone who's not dead, let's get into my number 1 or number 2 pick of anchor beings, and that is Spider-Man. Spider-Man, whether you're talking about the 616 like comics or just Marvel in general or TV shows, cinematic universes, whatever it is, Spider-Man is by far Marvel's most popular character. I would be willing to bet a whole lot of money and just make the argument that like Kevin Feige and everyone behind the scenes at Disney is looking to ride this next phase of MCU content on Tom Holland's Peter Parker's Spider-Man's back. And just like how Logan was the most popular character in his universe, Spider-Man is the most popular, period. Couple that in with the fact that no one remembers who Peter Parker is. Yes, that's different than no one knowing who Spider-Man is. And through a little bit of retconning, you could definitely make the argument of like, that's what's causing the universe to collapse. But because of that, that's one of my cons I have for Spider-Man being the anchor being, is that they're not going to kill him off. I mean, technically, yes, he died in Infinity War, but then he came back. They're not going to kill him off. So if they choose to make Spider-Man the MCU's anchor being, they're going to have to find a way to kill him off or to figure out a way to like get him out of the dimension to cause the universe to collapse. So I think there's a very high likelihood of it, but if they're going down the route of this character has to die, like the anchor being has to die in order to usher in the effects of Doomsday and Secret Wars, it's not going to be Spider-Man, because they're not going to kill Spider-Man. That is the only con I have for this, and the fact that Spider-Man's not dead and they're not going to kill them. But they could definitely do a ride around to make him the anchor being and saying like, we have to protect Spider-Man, because if Spider-Man dies, especially with Iron Man being dead, in terms of meta-ness and popularity, like the MCU will die. So like we have to protect Spider-Man, and then like that ushers in Secret War stuff. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but if Spider-Man's popular, Logan Wolverine was popular, so like it makes sense that he could be the anchor being. Number 7 on my list on who I think could be the anchor being in terms of especially killing off characters, I think T'Challa's Black Panther definitely could make the argument for him being an anchor being. Right off the bat, the biggest pro is that he was the king of the most technologically advanced countries on Earth. And the fact that Wolverine died and that's what caused the collapse of the universe, I think they can make the argument that because of Chadwick Boseman's passing and T'Challa's passing, that's what caused the universe to go downhill. Obviously, I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way, but I think through the right writing, I think they can make the case that like because of Chadwick Boseman's and T'Challa's death, it could be a very meta way to usher in the collapse of this universe. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but I thought it was pretty interesting, so I had to include it. Another argument for someone that I don't think is that interesting of a character, but again, I had to include it in terms of how powerful they are, is Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel has had interactions with the Avengers, stuff on Earth with Thanos, and then throughout both of her movies and just her existence as a character, she is known throughout the greater Marvel universe, like in outer space and stuff. So I could see her being an anchor being, but due to the fact of in the real world how much people don't like her because she's a girl and with like bad writing and stuff, I don't think that she's going to be an anchor being. I think that would be a really poor decision on Disney Marvel's part, making a character that is already known for being very overpowered and fans not liking her because she doesn't have any like consequences and any struggle at all, making her not only the most powerful but also the most important character in the Marvel universe. I think that would be a very bad decision, so I don't think that's going to happen. But again, she is the most powerful character, I think, in my opinion. The argument is definitely there, so it's worth a shot adding her to this list. But do I think the likelihood of that happening is high? Definitely not. Moving on to one of the more popular and powerful characters in the MCU, Scarlet Witch makes a very good argument for her being one of the anchor beings in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The very first thing to get out of the way is that, like, I'm not sure if she's dead or if she is, like, faking her death at the end of Multiverse of Madness, but if you go with what happened in the movie and how they're telling you, I think she's dead, which is a good sign for an anchor being causing a universe to collapse. I don't think she's dead, but she could be. Who knows? Again, she is one of the more popular characters with fans of all ages. Everyone loves her. She got her own TV show. She's definitely one of the more powerful characters in the whole universe. I'm pretty sure it was confirmed in WandaVision that she is a Nexus being. Now, what does that mean? We don't really know. There hasn't been a whole lot of elaboration on it. She's got her powers, I guess, retroactively through an Infinity Stone. So I think all the signs are there of her being an anchor being, and the likelihood of her being an anchor being in my mind is higher up than a lot of people on this list. So I think the case and the argument is definitely made there, but I don't think she's the #1 choice that I would go with. Another character that's really popular and really strong in the universe is Thanos. Now, do I think Thanos is going to be the anchor being for this universe? No, but I think the argument could definitely be made for it. I think if you look at it in the meta-analysis, Thanos wasn't made from Iron Man 1 to be the big bad, but if you look at it from the very first Avengers movie in the post-credit scene to like he was the one in charge of Loki and stuff, I think you can make a meta commentary on the fact that like he was built up to be the big bad of the 616 Marvel Cinematic Universe, and once he died in Endgame, like yes, Iron Man died too, but once he died, the universe went downhill steeply. It's very hard to take the audience that you've built a decade plus of time building up to this big event and then trying to start from scratch at the beginning. I think the reasons that I spoke about earlier and everyone online has spoke about Iron Man being the anchor being for the universe, I think those could easily apply to Thanos as well. Yes, he was the bad guy, but if you want to go with what they did in the Hawkeye show where they had the thing on the urinal that says Thanos was right, what if them killing Thanos was actually the wrong thing to do? I think it would be very interesting if they kind of backpedaled and said like killing Thanos, because his motivation, like, do I agree with what he did on trying to kill half the life in the universe? Obviously not. But I get his reasoning, kind of like overpopulation, poor lack of resources for everyone, yada yada yada. I think if Marvel kind of took a step back and almost paid homage and said that like, yes, Thanos was right, and killing him is what caused the collapse of the universe. Narratively, I think that's a pretty sound argument. And then also meta-analysis wise, like, yeah, you killed off the big bad, like the Darth Vader of the universe. Where do we go from here? And if you look at it on the point of Disney as well, like, yeah, they killed off the Emperor and Darth Vader in Star Wars. Where did they go from there? Well, they just rebuilt back up the Emperor. I've seen stuff recently about on D23 about King Thanos showing back up. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Maybe it was just marketing or whatever. But they could easily build back up to King Thanos and then have Doom rip his spine out like he does in the comics. I don't know. I don't think Thanos is a great argument, and he's definitely not at the top of my list for this. But based on what I've said alone and what I've seen, I haven't seen a lot of people talking about Thanos being the anchor being, and I just want to put it out there because I think it would be very interesting if that's what happened. Also, I don't really have a con for Thanos not being an anchor being because I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, but like he is dead, so that could do it. So that's all I have for my list. In terms of likelihood, I think you'd be an idiot to not say that Iron Man is #1, but after redoing all my notes and looking at everything I have, if I had to pick a top 3, I think #1's going to be Iron Man because of popularity, #2 is going to be Spider-Man because of popularity, and #3, as much as I like the Thanos argument, I'm going to put Thanos at 4. and then put Doctor Strange at number 3. I feel more confident about Thanos more than I do of Doctor Strange, but I don't think Marvel's going to do that in terms of like looking at it in the real world. There's no way they're going to kind of backpedal and say that Thanos was right and Thanos was the anchor being, even though I think that would be really cool. So I would like for him to be higher, but I'm going to put Thanos at 4, Doctor Strange at 3, and then Spider-Man and Iron Man. But that's really all I have for now. Let me know who you guys think the anchor being is going to be. Let me know if you think I'm out in left field and I'm completely wrong with all of this. But if you've made it this far into the video, thank you guys so much for watching. I love making videos like this. Like I said earlier in the video, I think I'm going to do a little fan write for what I would do if I was writing Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. So let me know if that's something you guys would like to see from me. But if you've liked this video, please like the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It just helps me know that you guys like the videos I'm making, and I'll keep making more videos because of it. That's all I really have for now. Take care.